What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about MicroStrategy today. Hit that like button, subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and let's get into it, my friends. Okay, so MicroStrategy. I think it's very important to mention because I've had a few of you over the past week mention that MicroStrategy price performance all depends on Bitcoin. And I agree. I think it's very obvious, right? Anybody who invests in MicroStrategy, you should know that the price action very much does depend on Bitcoin. But some of you mentioned that you'd like me to do some Bitcoin analysis alongside with MicroStrategy. So I'd like to do that in this video, and we will do that. But I do also every single day, I make Bitcoin videos, right? I might, what I'll do, because I've actually started, I don't know where I would put the playlist. I've got a playlist, right here, right? Playlist for MicroStrategy and the Fibonacci retracement tools for anybody that wants to watch that. But MicroStrategy playlist, I might just make a Bitcoin playlist, and any Bitcoin videos I might place there. So if you guys are ever curious to watch the Bitcoin price predictions and stuff like that, you can check that out too. But without shilling other videos, let's get into this. So, and we will compare Bitcoin in this video as well. In fact, maybe I should just throw it on there. We'll do this part first, and then I'll get to that. So a lot of volume came in last week again. On Friday, we had a lot of volume. It was the most volume that we saw since the beginning of this month, actually, the 5th of December, which was also a pretty big candle to the downside, okay? This candle, like if we were on the upper ends of this range, brought us to the middle of the range. This candle, if we were at the lower ends of the range, it brought us to the middle of the range, right? So kind of similar, just from opposite sides of the range. We had a little bit of a move down to start off the week, 8.7% to the downside, and that's okay. Bitcoin itself, this is where we'll do the analysis on Bitcoin. Bitcoin itself didn't really have a good weekend, did it? But it wasn't terrible. It just moved down a little bit, and here we are chilling right now. I actually made a video recently talking about how I'm somewhat confident that we do move up from here. There's a possibility, and I don't think, and I want to say this really specifically, very, very specifically, painstakingly so, that I don't think Bitcoin moves down below 90K, but if it were to, 85K to 87K could be the potential targets. We could see that, and then from there reverse up and move up, right? I don't think we do. I think that we move up from here, and I think the reason why is that this is a broadening wedge pattern. And I think that we are more likely to break out to the upside than we are to the downside based on this pattern right now. But you never know, man. You really never know. The one thing giving me kind of confidence in that is if we take this low here of the pattern to this low here, and we see where these lows are. This is what they call a partial decline. It's where you reach for the trend line, but you can't actually get to it. That tends to be a bullish thing, and you get a nice reversal going up, right? But the only thing is you've done it twice. Normally it happens once, and that's it, and then you move up. When you get a second one, that's kind of a little bit odd. So let's just see what we do. Let's kind of wait for Bitcoin. It is possible during this phase of the markets, guys. Bitcoin could just have a flash crash down and then move up. So be prepared for that. MicroStrategy people too. If Bitcoin were to flash crash down, you could see MicroStrategy move down. It's at 332, man. It could move down in a day, in a week's time. It could move down to 250. It could move down to 280. You know, it's beyond filling this gap. It could move lower. It absolutely could. I'm not expecting that. I'm not expecting this for Bitcoin, but anything can happen, right? Let's not be naive. But for what's going on in Bitcoin, you know, this move down, we look at the 4 hour, as you're moving down, as you're moving lower, your volume's really dying off, right? I made the point in my Bitcoin video that I made recently that if this were flipped, if this was a double top and on your second peak you had lower volume, this is a classic setup for a reversal. It really is, right? And it's the same thing on the bottom effect, right? If we flipped it and it was a double top with this kind of volume, I would be very scared that we were about to drop. But we're not at a double top, we're at a double bottom with this kind of volume. That gets me excited that we're actually about to rip, we're about to fly. So with that in mind, MicroStrategy probably likely finds a low here and starts to move up as well. You look at the 3 hour RSI, there's really not too much to go off of here, to be completely fair. Maybe we won't look at the 3 hour RSI. We'll go off the daily. The daily actually might be more of a case to go to the downside because you're rejecting the 50 area here, finding resistance there. You bounced off your 40, to be fair. Let's see what you do. Let's see what you do tomorrow. If tomorrow MicroStrategy moves lower, if tomorrow you close below Friday's opening, if tomorrow your RSI gets a lower low than this, then I will definitely entertain the idea of moving below 290, potentially even below 280. as low, I would say, as like 220, 250, somewhere in that area. But that, it all depends on tomorrow. So let's check back tomorrow and see what the price action does, because we also are waiting on Bitcoin a little bit too. But all in all, I would expect that, looking at this 4 hour, I would expect that within the next day, probably today, if not by tomorrow's Tuesday. So if not by the end of today, which is Tuesday's candle for Bitcoin. You look at the day here, it says Tuesday on the bottom, right? Tuesday. If not by the end of this day, then by the end of the next day, I would expect that we do see Bitcoin moving up, and probably not even the end of the next day. By the end of today, if not the beginning of the next day, I would expect we move up, which would then mean that either tomorrow or the next day, we would see MicroStrategy move up too. Excluding, or with the exception of, if MicroStrategy closes below here, if the RSI sees a lower low, then we might have to rethink things, right? Then I will make a video right here when the price is down here saying we're going to go down to 270, 280, and right when I make that call, that's whenever it'll bounce and it'll go up, and then we can all celebrate, right? But I don't really know. Nobody knows what the price is going to do over the coming hours, over the coming days, but my expectation is that you found a low. I do think that you're going to move up higher. This move down that you had today was 8.7% to the downside. The day that you had on Friday last week was 11.5%. Look at the volume difference. Just look at the difference in volume, man. There's no volume. You can't even see it. This little stupid star thing. Can I get rid of it? Let's just get rid of all of them, man. I don't care. I don't want any of them. Just look at that. Half the volume, a pretty sizable move. It's less than average volume, right? It's to me, it's insignificant. We're having indecisive candles. That's what these are, indecisive candles at a very indecisive point. We did it last time here, but we moved up, afterwards. So I think that we will move up. I'm not worried about it at all. And the next targets are, we're at $332 now. The next targets would be, from a high to a low, come on now, would be anything from $604 to $847 based off of this fib, and then based off of, and I mean potentially $1,100 to $1,300 based off of this fib. Right? And then based off of this fib, the more kind of significant fib, the next target literally would be $994. I mean, it is common to go a little bit above your 3113 as well, but $994, you could go a little bit higher to this $1,300 area. It is common also to go above your 1886, hit that 200 area. Sometimes you do find resistance not at the 1886, but just a little bit above it, and that's nice because we do have the triple golden extension up here as well. So something around, if not above $1,000, is the next target. That's absolutely the stance that I'm going to maintain until we see anything that was to invalidate that, or that would make me think otherwise, right? If we were to start seeing days close below $305, I would rethink things a little bit. We'd probably go down to 240, okay? As long as we're closing above 305, as long as the RSI is closing above the 40 on the daily, as long as we're getting higher lows, I got no problems with this thing. But I'm going to end the video there. If you guys like the video, hit that like button, subscribe if you want to see more content like this. I do want to look one. I said I was going to end the video, but I wanted to look at one more thing real quick. Hold on. Compare it to BTC correlation coefficient. It's probably very identical. I just want to see though. Why? Oh no, I did it wrong. Hold on. Correlation coefficient, BTC USD index. There we go. Apply. Yeah, completely. That's Bitcoin. Duh. Why am I? Why? Ah, it's, come on. Let's get MSTR. There we go. MSTR. There we go. All right, Bitcoin. So you're at a phase right now where you're actually a little bit less correlated, but you're coming in. You can see here on the daily aspect. So what this indicator is it's the correlation between MicroStrategy and Bitcoin. The closer you are to a 1 or 100, whatever you want to call it, it's 100%. That's why I call it 100. If you ever hear me call it 100, even though it is a 1, I'm talking about percentages, right? Where you're very correlated, you're making like a tit for tat move, -1 all the way down, making like opposite moves. Bitcoin goes up, MicroStrategy goes down, right? But like Bitcoin goes up 10%, MicroStrategy goes down 10%. If Bitcoin goes up 10% and MicroStrategy goes down 2%, that might be good for a little bit of a decorrelation, but not a lot, right? So above the 0 line means that MicroStrategy and Bitcoin have more in common than they don't, right? Below means that they have less in common than they do, but that doesn't mean just because you're above that you're making the exact same moves, just because you're below that you're making the exact opposite moves. Making the exact same and the exact opposite more is dictated by the closeness of the one and the negative one. And you can see throughout MicroStrategy's existence, at least since acquiring BTC, they rarely just get uncorrelated from Bitcoin, and the most decorrelated that you see is like a half, a 50% move, right? It's nothing significant. So what I'm trying to get to is you go through phases, right? You see peaks and valleys, right? Lows and highs, all this stuff. To me, if we look at the current area that we're in on this correlation phase, it would seem as if we just exited or we just finished with a decorrelation move. Now we're going to go into a directly correlated move. I wonder. I want to look at this real quick. Actually, hold up now. I'm going to delete the RSI. I wish I didn't say I was done with the video because this could be good here real quick, guys. Let's see real quick. BTC USD on the index. New price scale. And then we do candles. Right? Candles. Okay, so what I want to do now is I want to take vertical lines and I want to put them in all of these low points in the correlation coefficient right before we're about to turn bullish. Not bullish, right? Because this has nothing to do with the price. The indicator here that I'm measuring, I'm just taking it at the dips here. Maybe not these small dips, but like these more big dips. Nothing to do with price. It just has to do with the correlation. So what I want to do now is, now that we have all those little dips, the bottoms of those dips marked with these vertical lines, now I want to look at the price and I want to compare it to what Bitcoin did along with what MicroStrategy did. Okay, so looking at Bitcoin here, I'll change the color so that it's a little bit more obvious. Oh, maybe this will be more obvious. There we go, orange. MicroStrategy, green and red, Bitcoin, orange and red. Okay, so we compare MicroStrategy to Bitcoin. You can see they're very similar targets or very similar charts. The white lines indicate when the correlation was at a low point, right? And it was turning around, coming back to correlated, coming out of uncorrelated or less correlated, moving up to correlated. So anytime we've had that from all the way back here, Bitcoin and MSTR, they were starting to get more correlated after each of these white lines. Not all the way through, right? It's not like they're getting more correlated all the way through. It's specifically like right after the white line, you're getting more correlated. And you probably get less correlated, and then you get more correlated. Then you probably get less correlated, and then you get more correlated. Right after the white line, that was that focal point of getting into a correlated move. Okay, I'm being very precise on that because I want to look at the price action. Okay, stagnant, and shortly after moved up. Stagnant and shortly after moved up for both Bitcoin and MSTR, right? And MSTR actually continued to move up. Bitcoin went sideways. MSTR continued to move up. After this move here, Bitcoin went sideways. MSTR went sideways a little bit again, and then this time they went down. So actually a very similar kind of move, isn't it? Except to the down effect instead of the up effect. It went sideways at first, and then it went up. It went sideways at first, and then it went up, right, when they were correlated. Here, after this correlation, sideways at first, then you went up. Here, after this correlation, sideways. Bitcoin even went a little bit down, but MSTR a little bit down as well, but sideways, and then they both went up. This time after correlation, they both just kind of went down, right? Not really sideways. After this correlation, immediately you went up. After this correlation, both of them immediately went down. I say correlation, I should say after this focal point. Focal point here, sideways and then up, right? MicroStrategy kind of went up more so, then sideways, then up. It didn't really help. This last little part didn't really help, did it? I feel like it didn't give me the conclusive evidence I wanted. Because you could move up or you could move down is what we see after these correlation effects, right? Likely you move sideways and then you move up or you move down, right? But I will say, coming out of this little crux here, getting more correlated with an immediate move down, I suppose, looking at what we've seen so far, that doesn't actually look too good. We would rather see sideways movement, but I don't know. At the same time, is this not just sideways movement, right? Are they not just coming into correlation at sideways? I mean, Bitcoin hasn't really moved down too much over the past 3 days. I don't know. Hard to say. Although I guess what we can say, regardless, one way or another, I would expect that within the next week we do get a turnaround in the price action, right? Or I shouldn't say a turnaround, a directional heading. Are we moving up or are we moving down? Likely it happens soon. So that's all that really gave us. I was hoping that it would tell us it was moving up, right? After each of these white lines, we started to move up, but there's moments where that just wasn't true. So it's not worth talking about. This was kind of a waste of time, I feel like, but not a waste of time in addressing that you do go through moments where you're correlated and uncorrelated, right? And we're about to see a more correlated moment now. So what's bullish for BTC will be bullish for MSTR, and that's always the case, but especially now. And what's bearish for BTC will be bearish for MSTR. That's always the case, but especially now is what this indicator might be telling us. So if you guys like the video, hit that like button, subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Thank you all for being here. I'll see you on the next one. Take care of yourselves, my friends. Bye.